All right, this is a 2005 Chevrolet Avalanche. It is the flex fuel version of the 5.3 V8. And all the dimensions I found online were really cryptic or hard to read or not quite right. So, in fact, I've messed mine up because of that, but I'm gonna give you guys the right dimensions to do this. Now, I started to unbolt my seat and do all this and take the car seats out, yada, yada, yada. And I got to thinking, I was like, well, heck, the whole idea behind cutting a hole here to get access to your fuel pump is to save time. And here I am spending an hour taking seats and car seats and this, that, and the other out. So I said, the heck with it. So I just took a razor knife, cut, folded the carpet back. Now, because of these ridges, it was hard to fold this metal out of the way. But essentially what I did was I drilled a hole here. I believe I used like a 5/16 drill bit. Drilled it there. Now what's important is you don't want to use too long of I tried to use a Dremel so I wouldn't cut these fuel lines. It was taking too long. So I ended up getting the old skill saw out. Now, this is important. This is stroked all the way out. And the max depth of this metal blade is, let's see, we'll call it 1.5 inches. About 1.5 inches. 4 millimeters for the metric fanboys. I don't even, that's actually 4 millimeters that'd probably be about right. The camera angle's a little off, so there you go. That's straight. So you don't want it any longer than that. And I've noticed that people that roll back their carpet, you get rid of all this thick insulation and carpet. I mean, that's a 1/2 inch. So I didn't press down super hard. I pressed down a little bit, but just enough for the blade to get in there and not jump out and break and bend the blade. But you don't want to go too deep right there and cut those. I also got a little close to this side over here and nicked my parking brake housing, but I didn't mess anything up, luckily. So let me get the exact dimensions so you don't do what I did. From this plastic piece over, you really need to cut, I'd say about 10 inches. I cut way too far this way, so really about 10 inches from this plastic piece that way, maybe 9, just to give you some room. So 9 inches this way. It needs to be 9 inches wide. So 9 in and 9 wide. This hole here is the center point of the fuel pump, roughly. It's a little shifted to the right, but we're close enough, right? All right. I could have afforded to cut over a little bit more that way. I think I'll be able to, once I get this retaining ring off, twist it off, I think I'll be able to finagle it out of there, but the hole really needs to be, by the time you cut it, it needs to be about a 9-inch square hole. So really 9 by 9 by 9 by 9, and 9 inches over from, pretty easy. From this back wall, since everybody might not have this bolt hole, from the back wall, you need to have your hinge point, focus, 7 inches. 7 inches away from this back plastic wall needs to be your hinge point. Now, I chose to hinge it this way, which made it harder to hinge because of these ridges, but I couldn't really get my saw over here close enough. This rail was kind of getting in the way. I thought I would have a problem over here. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't have. So you could cut this side, this side, this side, and then hinge it that way, like I did the carpet. But anyways, turned a 2-hour, 3-hour job into I don't know, this maybe took me 10 minutes to get to this point. Once I had all the tools laid out, that's half the work, but anyhow. Oh, also, I undid the fuel line here, which is actually really easy to do. And I was able to hook a a hose up to that. I think it was like a 3/8 fuel hose. Hooked up to that, hooked up to my pressure gauge. And when I would turn it on, it would climb to 60 and then immediately fall back down. So that told me, I was doing that up at the fuel rail, it was doing it, but I didn't know if I had an injector leaking really bad or something like that. But now I know it's here because it's immediately going back down into the fuel pump, so the problem's in here. So anyhow, the truck was running just fine. It just took 2 or 3 turns to crank it. But anyhow, thought it helped somebody out there.